Inside a conference room in the Hokage Tower, a meeting was underway. A red-haired man in his mid-20s, clearly annoyed at the direction the meeting was moving in, spoke up. "I don't see what the problem is here, Lord Hokage. None of you deny that Naruto-sama is Kushina-sama's child. The Uzumaki clan, like most of the clans represented here, passed the leadership of the clan down via hereditary means. Naruto-sama is the next head of the clan. Of course, he's only an infant and can't rule yet. Thus I am acting as the clan's regent until Naruto-sama meets both our clan and this village's requirements to take over the clan." "The problem," countered Shimura Danzo, "is that the moment the Yondaime sealed the beast inside of his own child, said child ceased to be a person, it is only a weapon, and the Uzumaki cannot be trusted with it. I will overlook your insult to Naruto-sama for now, Lord Elder," the Uzumaki Regent said, his tone of voice conveying his extreme displeasure at Danzo's words. "And what have we done to earn your distrust? Were not members of the Uzumaki clan brought here to Konoha in the first place to serve as Jinchuriki? Indeed, while individual Uzumaki were brought here, the Uzumaki clan was never present." Danzo countered. "Uzumaki Mito became Senju Mito after her marriage to the Shodai Hokage, and Kushina came over by herself. Ultimately, I don't trust the Uzumaki clan to be loyal enough to this village. I suspect your loyalties still lie in your own homeland. Our homeland was destroyed," came the fiery counter from a now very angry Uzumaki. "No thanks to our allies here in Konoha who just stood by and let it happen. No, Danzo-sama, the Whirlpool village was destroyed. So few of us survived. We were lucky that Kushina-sama, the youngest child of our last clan head, survived here in Konoha and was able to set us up as an official clan before sending word to the few of us that survived the destruction of our home. I understand that with Kushina-sama now dead there are no Uzumaki clan members left who has lived in this village for more than 6 months, but you do not have to worry about our loyalty. Kushina-sama made sure this place would be our home. Even if you are as loyal as you say, it is clear that you are too emotionally attached to our village's greatest weapon. It must be a cruel, cold, and emotionless in order for it to reach its true potential. Clearly, your clan would raise it to be too soft to be effective." Even more angry after Danzo revealed what his thoughts on how Naruto should be raised were, the Uzumaki Regent realized he would not be able to sway Danzo, and changed tactics. After taking in a deep breath to calm his rage at the elder, he turned to address the other people in the room, most importantly the heads of the other clans. "I ask this of the clan heads in this room. How would you feel if your clan found itself in this situation, being asked to give up the future head of your clan in order to turn them into a soulless weapon?" Reactions were mixed, but seemed favorable to the Uzumaki. Danzo and his organization were not liked by most of the clans, especially since the elder constantly tried to take members from the clans for his special training. Thus far, he had only been successful in recruiting clan members a couple of times, instead drawing most of his organization's numbers from the many orphanages throughout the Land of Fire. However, with the death of the Yondaime Hokage and subsequent return of the Sandaime, Danzo's influence would likely grow. Hiruzen Sarutobi was a legend and loved by nearly everyone in the village, but he was known to have a glaring blind spot when it came to the shady activities of Danzo, his longtime confidant. The clan heads may only have a limited number of opportunities left to express their displeasure with Danzo. Hoping to seal the deal, the Uzumaki Regent once again spoke up. Yondaime-sama and Kushina-sama sacrificed their lives for this village. Their only request in exchange was that their son be treated like a hero. Should you allow Naruto to be taken from his clan, you will betray the faith that the Yondaime and his wife had in you. The few clan heads in the room that had not already been swayed to the Uzumaki's side were now convinced. Few people in Konoha were more well-loved than the Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato. After surveying the room, the Sandaime allowed himself to smile, clearly pleased with the result. He spoke, "Very well, Yoshide-san. Naruto will stay with the Uzumaki. As acting Hokage, I hereby recognize Naruto's hereditary right to lead the Uzumaki clan. Seeing as how the boy is only 2 weeks old, I hereby recognize you as the clan's representative on Konoha's council until such time as Naruto has met both the village and your clan's criteria for him to take his rightful place." Relieved to have won the battle, Uzumaki Yoshide, regent of the Uzumaki clan, finally allowed himself to smile, as his thoughts turned to the 2-week-old baby that was likely asleep back at the newly constructed Uzumaki clan compound. "Naruto-sama, you are safe, for now." On a large plot of land on the outskirts of Konoha sat several recently constructed buildings. One clearly dominated the others in size. This plot of land was the new Uzumaki clan compound. The building in question was the clan's Great Hall. In a room inside of this building, some 20 red-headed men and women sat around a long table, discussing the state of their clan. A fierce debate, not unlike the one Uzumaki Yoshide had participated in at the Hokage Tower, was taking place. "You fool," a middle-aged woman was saying, glaring angrily at a younger man. "Look around you. Less than 30 people. This is currently the entire adult population of our clan. In addition, we have 5 children and 1 more on the way. Growing our numbers has to be our top priority. Why wouldn't we focus on encouraging our single members to seek partners outside the clan? And why wouldn't we look to the orphanages for a temporary boost? Because it will dilute our bloodlines." The man countered. "One only has to look to young Naruto-sama to see this. Lady Kushina married outside the clan, understandable given her circumstances, but now our future clan head is only half Uzumaki. If he marries outside the clan as well, his children will be only 1/4 Uzumaki. Our bloodline deteriorates too quickly to allow this. We need to focus on keeping marriages inside the clan, and just having as many children as possible to keep our genetic purity." "Such foolishness," Yoshide mused. "I suppose it's about time I involve myself in this pointless debate. You needn't worry about Naruto-sama's genes." The regent of the clan, speaking for the first time since opening this meeting, caused all other discussions to stop, and all eyes to turn towards the table's head, waiting for their leader's next words. True, Naruto-sama was born half Uzumaki. However, that problem has already been fixed. You may not have noticed, after all he isn't seen out and about much, but Lord Naruto's hair was blonde at first, much like his father's. However, since then it has turned red. So? The young man countered, still not grasping what his regent was implying. "All that means is that Naruto-sama will look like an Uzumaki, and hair color can and does change as children grow up. It doesn't mean his bloodline is any less diluted." "True, it will make him look like an Uzumaki, and that is undoubtedly a good thing," commented another young Uzumaki. "The civilians of the village seem obsessed with the idea of a blonde baby that became the demon, upon having the Kyuubi sealed into him. But between the Hokage's laws about speaking openly about the identity of the village Jinchuriki, the fact that Naruto-sama hasn't left the compound since he was brought here just after his birth, and the fact that his hair color has changed, people just might not recognize him. And he will not set foot outside the compound for at least 2 more years if I can help it." Yoshide responded, "I want to put as much time as possible between the Nine Tails attack and Naruto-sama being among the general population of the village. Hell, if that means he doesn't leave our lands until he starts at the academy, then so be it. I will not allow the village to treat him like some bogeyman." Yoshide had grown a bit agitated as he spoke, but based on the expressions of his fellow Uzumaki, it seemed like the clan supported him on that. The fewer people that made the connection that Naruto was the Jinchuriki, the better his life would be. Offering a small smile, Yoshide added, "But that is a bit out of scope of what we were discussing," before turning back to the young clan member who had brought up the point about Naruto being half Uzumaki in the first place. "Kazumi, you are young. You only recently turned 18, and because of that I will overlook your ignorance. This time." Yoshide responded, now just annoyed at the stupidity of his clansmen. Once it was confirmed that the village would not attempt to take Naruto-sama from us, the issue of his genetics was taken care of. In an instant, a look of understanding came upon the face of the young Uzumaki Kazumi. "You performed the ritual? When?" "As I said, as soon as it was confirmed that the village recognized Lord Naruto as Lady Kushina's heir and our future lord. You know that the younger someone is when they undergo the ritual, the better their chances of survival." Having dealt with Kazumi's ignorance, Yoshide turned his attention back to the whole of the clan. "I understand the concerns over bloodline, after all ours is very fragile. Had he remained only half Uzumaki, Naruto-sama would only have enjoyed our enhanced chakra capacity and strong life force. Our other Kek Genkai would have been impossible for him." Everyone nodded with understanding. Healing chakra, chains of chakra, and some other genetic abilities of the Uzumaki were only accessible to those of a certain level of Uzumaki heritage. However, Yoshide continued, in an almost chiding manner, "Did you forget that we are a clan of seal masters? Did you forget that we have a fuinjutsu designed to modify one's DNA? Did you forget about our clan's adoption ritual?" "Forgive me, Yoshide-sama," Kazumi said, bowing low as he spoke, and with his actions being mirrored by some others who had sided with him in the debate. "I did not forget about the adoption ritual, but I had heard that only the very best of Uzumaki fuinjutsu masters could successfully perform it, and I was unaware that such a person had survived the fall of Uzu." As Kazumi finished speaking, an elderly man began laughing, before speaking up himself. "The foolishness of youth, eh? Oh well, I suppose I had already retired from our shinobi forces by the time you had been born, young Kazumi." Grinning to the old man, Yoshide spoke once again. Since apparently he needs to be reintroduced to some of you, allow me to present Uzumaki Takahiro-sama. Until his retirement some 25 years ago, he was considered our clan's foremost fuinjutsu master in several generations. We are extremely lucky that he and his wife were outside of the village visiting a resort in the land of hot water when the attack on Uzu began. And we are even more fortunate that years later Kushina-sama was able to learn of his location and contact him. Those who had not known just who Takahiro was prior to the debate beginning, mostly the teenagers such as Kazumu, turned and stared almost reverentially at Takahiro, and Yoshi decided that the old man would be able to end this debate once and for all. I would hear your opinion on this debate, Takahiro-sama. I am only 80 years old. Takahiro said, remaining in his seated position. With our clan's strong life force, I should still have at least a decade or two left in me, if not more. As such, I don't see why our members can't pursue marriages with outsiders or adopt from the orphanages. I can always perform the ritual on any young children that are adopted. Someone who is married into the clan should not have the ritual performed on them, it is just too dangerous once a person is over the age of 5, but I can perform the ritual on any resulting children. In addition, I would like to begin teaching someone what I know. I must not be the last Fuinjutsu Grandmaster, another must take over that mantle. Takahiro's words settled any remaining dissent. The Uzumaki were far and away the smallest clan in Konoha, and if they wanted to become anywhere near as feared or respected as they had been before the fall of Uzu, they needed to prioritize rebuilding. For a clan with less than 30 members, growth was paramount. Chapter 2. Uzumaki Kazumu, along with 3 other young adults of the Uzumaki clan, stepped into the Senju Mito Memorial Orphanage. One of many orphanages in Konoha, and the only that had the distinction of being founded and supported by the wife of Konoha's first Hokage, Senju Mito, though Kazumu and his companions knew her by another name, Uzumaki Mito. Upon seeing the 3 Uzumaki enter her orphanage, the matron of the facility moved to greet her guests. My lords Uzumaki, welcome to the Senju Mito Memorial Orphanage. I am the matron here, how might I be of service to the Uzumaki clan? Greetings matron, I am sure you are aware of Mito-sama's heritage, yes? Kazumu answered. Yes, of course, I personally knew Lady Mito. She may have been forced to renounce her membership in your clan and join the Senju upon her marriage, but secretly she was always a proud Uzumaki. Good. Kazumu grinned, pleased to hear the matron's answer. We are here today to honor her. Yoshide-sama, regent of the Uzumaki clan, has authorized us to make a sizable financial donation to your facility, and inquire as to any immediate needs you may have. The matron was, naturally, delighted to hear Kazumu's words, and the young Uzumaki quickly passed her off to one of his clansmen who had accompanied him. Said Uzumaki would handle that business while Kazumu and the others wandered around the facility. Kazumu stepped into the backyard of the orphanage and took in his surroundings. Some 15 children were in the backyard, split into smaller groups playing. However, one child very quickly caught his eye. A young girl was playing on her own off in a corner. She wore a pink shirt, and her brown hair was kept in 2 buns. She was currently yelling and pretending to punch the ground. Curious, Kazumu wandered over to further investigate. The young girl continued to play for several minutes, oblivious to Kazumu's presence. Finally, the Uzumaki spoke. What are you doing, little girl? The girl whipped around, clearly startled. At first, she seemed to be afraid, but she quickly recovered and bowed to Kazumu. Oh, I'm sorry sir, I didn't see you. That's okay, I can be pretty sneaky when I want to be. What were you doing just now? I was playing ninja, sir. By punching the ground? I heard that Senju Tsunade-sama can make the ground blow up by punching it. The girl's eyes light up as she explained her actions. So you were impersonating Lady Tsunade then? Yes, she's my hero. I want to grow up to be just like her. Kazumu almost snickered. Tsunade's reputation preceded her. I doubt this girl would actually want to be a gambling-addicted drunkard, Kazumu thought to himself, before asking. What's your name? My name is Tenten. What's yours? I am Uzumaki Kazumu. It is very nice to meet you, Tenten. Why do you want to be like Lady Tsunade? Because she's the best. Everyone knows she's the most famous kunoichi ever. I suppose it's to be expected. Kazumu thought, this girl doesn't even have a family name. The fact that Tsunade is so famous and well known is probably what draws Tenten to her. I must admit that after my parents died in the destruction of Uzu, I felt like I had to make a name for myself, and this girl is so young that she probably doesn't even remember her parents. Excuse me, Uzumaki-san? Tenten's question brought Kazumu out of his thoughts. Yes, what is it, Tenten? Are you a ninja? Yes, would you teach me, please? Kazumu looked at the toddler that was staring back at him with what can only be described as puppy dog eyes, and he immediately realized he had lost. Sure thing. As the girl celebrated, Kazumu pulled out a scroll and unsealed a target board and 3 wooden kunai. Now these aren't real, true kunai are far too dangerous for a beginner, but let me show you how to throw them. Even after his fellow Uzumaki had left the orphanage, Kazumi stayed for several more hours, teaching the girl to throw kunai. From a window looking out onto the backyard, 3 Uzumaki, Yoshide, Kazumi, and Takahiro, along with the matron of the orphanage, watched as young Tenten practiced throwing her wooden kunai. She does this at all hours of the day, the matron commented, before turning and offering a light-hearted glare towards Kazumi. You've created a monster. She's driven to achieve her goals. Kazumi said, that's why I keep coming back to help her. I think it's more than that. The matron responded with a knowing smile. You've been coming to visit her twice a week for the past 6 months. And today you've even brought your clan's regent and an elder to observe her. Suddenly, the matron's smile dropped. She quickly looked around, as if confirming that the 4 of them were alone before dropping her voice to a barely audible whisper. If you're going to adopt her, do it soon. They've already started to notice how much she practices. I think they'll come for her before too long. Who are these people you speak of? Yoshide asked. I don't know, the matron responded. But it happens at all the orphanages, not just this one. Anytime a child shows some promise in the shinobi arts, 2 people come see me. They are very cold people, and they come bearing a signed order from an official in Daimyo-sama's court to take the child with them for specialized training. I never see those children again. Root. Yoshide thought, exchanging a knowing look with Takahiro. Danzo's organization was a poorly kept secret among high-ranking members of the village, and even with other villages. Long before either Uzumaki had resided in Konoha, they had known of the existence of the organization that was also known as the Foundation. Pushing the thought of Root from his mind, Yoshide tapped into his sensory abilities, and focused them on the girl they were watching. Tenten doesn't seem to have unlocked her chakra yet. Good, very good. That exponentially improves her chances of surviving the ritual. Takahiro said, whispering so that only Yoshide could hear him. Then, aloud, he said to the matron, and you said she is 4? She actually turns 5 tomorrow. The matron responded. The elderly Uzumaki grinned, cutting it a bit close, but she should be fine. Yoshide-sama, Takahiro-sama, do I have your permission? Our permission is not required, Kazumi. Yoshide responded, you may be young, foolish, and headstrong, but you are undoubtedly the most promising shinobi in our clan, and I am confident in both your judgment, and the fact that you will mature into a fine member of our clan one day. Perhaps adopting this girl as your daughter will jumpstart that process. Indeed, Takahiro added, I believe young Tenten will make an excellent addition to the Uzumaki clan. It seems that she is about a year older than Lord Naruto and my Karen. Yoshide said, placing his hand on Kazumi's shoulder. I hope your daughter will befriend them, most of the clan's children are older, and they could use another friend around their age. Tenten continued to practice until she grew tired, and she leaned against a tree to take a break. Shortly after she sat down, she saw Kazumi coming toward her. Quickly, she scrambled back to her feet. Kazumi-sensei. I'm sorry, I'm just taking a break. It's okay, Tenten, I'm not mad. We've been watching you practice for the last half hour. You're getting very good with those wooden kunai. After the initial rush of euphoria from the praise of her sensei ran through her, Tenten began to wonder just who the we Kazumi had referred to was. That is until the other 2 Uzumaki and the matron came out and stood a few feet away. After the initial rush of euphoria from the praise of her sensei ran through her, Tenten began to wonder just who the we Kazumi had referred to was. That is until the other 2 Uzumaki and the matron came out and stood a few feet away. Kazumi-sensei, who are those people with matron-sama? That is Uzumaki Tamahiro-sama, he is an elder of my clan. And that is Uzumaki Yoshide-sama, the regent of my clan. Why are they here? Internally, Kazumi became very nervous. It was time for the big reveal. Well, I wasn't going to just give you your birthday present without getting permission from my clan head first. Tenten was perhaps a bit confused as to why Kazumi needed permission from his clan head to give her a present, but as with most kids, the excitement in knowing she was getting a present was all she could think about. You got me a present, sensei? What is it? Let me see. Let me see. The matron quickly stepped forward and handed Kazumi a clipboard. Having seen this same situation before many times, recognition quickly dawned on Tenten's face, and tears began to well up in her eyes. Still, she tried to hold it together, at least until she knew for sure. Kazumi squatted down so that his head was close to the same level as the toddler's, before saying, I'd like to adopt you, Tenten-chan. That is, if you'll let me. A river of tears now came from Tenten's eyes, but still, she managed to ask, will I have a Ka-san too? I'm not married yet, but I'll let you in on a secret. Kazumi said, leaning into to pretend that he was telling Tenten a big secret. There's a girl that I like, and I want to ask her on a date, but there's one thing I need to do first. What's that? Adopt you. You're a strong girl, Tenten. I know you can achieve your dream and become the strongest kunoichi ever. But I think you're missing two things, a forever home, and a forever family. I'd like to give you those things if you'll let me. Before he had even finished speaking, the girl had thrown herself into him, wrapping her small arms around his stomach and burying herself into his chest, as still more tears rolled down her face. Standing nearby, Yoshide, the matron, and Takahiro could just hear her squeak out, "Hi, To-san." Kazumu returned the hug, and the two stayed like that for several long moments, before finally breaking apart. "Now then," Kazumu said, his own emotions showing as his voice almost cracked. "I think I just need to sign here." He signed the form on the clipboard, and I believe everything is official. Both turned to a grinning matron, who nodded in confirmation, prompting Kazumu to turn back to Tenten, "And so it is, I'm the father of a beautiful little girl." In response, Tenten threw herself into yet another hug with her new father. When they broke their embrace for a second time, Tenten found that the other Uzumaki had approached, and were looking at her. "As regent of the Uzumaki clan, I welcome you, Uzumaki Tenten," Yoshide said, his smile prominently showing. "Thank you, Yoshide-sama," Tenten responded, bowing deeply. She had not been in a clan before, but even she knew that you were supposed to bow to your clan head. "Tenten, go gather your things and meet me at the front door," Kazumu said. "I just need to file this paperwork with the matron and then we are taking you home." Home. The word seemed to linger on Tenten's lips. Finally, she looked up into her father's eyes, smiled, and responded, "Hi, To-san," before running off. Chapter 3. In a clearing on Uzumaki clanland, three red-headed children were playing, running around and chasing each other. They were watched over by two sets of adults. As the three children played, the sole boy of the group, Uzumaki Naruto, came to a realization. "Hey Karen, wasn't Tenten's hair brown yesterday?" "Yes," the smaller of the two girls confirmed. Naruto then turned to the third member of the group, Tenten. "Why is your hair red?" "Dad says it's 'cause I went through the adoption ritual? What's that?" "Dunno, but Takahiro G-sama drew a bunch of stuff on me, then he yelled, 'Fuin,' then it hurt, then I fell asleep. I woke up with red hair. Dad says that means the adoption ritual worked and that I'm really an Uzumaki now." "Of course you are," Naruto exclaimed, jumping into the air and raising a fist in joy. "The Uzumaki are the best. Yeah." Both Karen and Tenten offered quick agreement, mimicking Naruto's actions. As the kids continued to play, Uzumaki Yoshide could only smile. It seemed that his daughter and Naruto had accepted and befriended Tenten. The clan had gained another member, and the future looked a bit brighter for the children of Uzu. Putting his positive thoughts about the future aside, the Uzumaki Regent turned his thoughts to the present, and to the woman sitting next to him as they watched the children play. "Are you sure you have to leave?" "Yes," his companion responded. "I've already stayed in the village for too long. I have too many bad memories of this place, and have no desire to stay." A brief silence ensued, before the woman continued. "I only came back to the village because I read your letter, and wanted to pay my respects to Kushina and Minato, as well as offer my support to my grandmother's clan. Somehow Sarutobi sensei roped me into helping out at the hospital as well. I've already been here 2 months when I intended to stay for no more than 2 days. I need to get going. Lady Tsunade, I know the decline of the Senju and the deaths of your brother and fiancé are painful, but we've all lost something. Hell, we Uzumaki lost our entire homeland and most of our friends and relatives. You don't need to keep running from your ghosts. You are part Uzumaki, we would welcome you as one of our own. No, if you won't do it for yourself, consider staying for Shizune's sake. Don't you drag her into this." It seemed as if Yoshide had touched a nerve, but despite Tsunade's legendary temper, he had a goal, and he was willing to risk the slug Sanin's wrath to achieve it. He gestured, drawing Tsunade's attention to the other pair of people watching the children play. "See there, Shizune and one of the finest young members of my clan Uzumaki Kazumu. They've gotten awfully close in the last month. Shizune is young. She needs to be around people her own age. I hear seeing her old friends again and working at the hospital has done wonders for her." Tsunade saw right through Yoshide's ploy, trying to manipulate her by bringing her apprentice into the discussion. She remained stern-faced as she responded. "Shizune is free to stay if she wants to, she's not obligated to go with me." "Is she really?" Yoshide thought aloud. "I wonder what her answer might be if I asked her about any obligation to you." A crack appeared in Tsunade's metaphorical emotional shield. Yoshide's words had struck home. While she might not be forcing Shizune to go with her, the girl certainly felt obligated to follow. Sensing that he might have scored a minor victory, Yoshide pressed his advantage. "I'll be frank with you Tsunade, the main reason I wish for you to stay is for Lord Naruto's benefit. Look, Minato and Kushina were great kids. I really liked them, and will miss them, but I never agreed to be Naruto's godmother." "That's not what I'm referring to," Yoshide responded, gently shaking his head. "Naruto-sama will face a number of challenges. while keeping him secluded here has helped to dispel the idea that he is some sort of demon, and Sandaime-sama's orders have kept that idea from spreading. I estimate that roughly 1 in every 3 villagers is both aware that Naruto is a Jinchuriki, and blames him for the events of that horrible night. I don't see how my staying here fixes that. Unfazed, Yoshide continued with his argument. On top of that, the political situation is quite dangerous for Lord Naruto. Shortly after his birth, I was just barely able to save him from being given to a particularly vile village elder by the name of Danzo Shimura. Since then, the pressure to do so has not lightened. If anything, it's only increased. I see the Uzumaki still don't have much of a knack for formality and politeness. We are fully capable of doing both when necessary. I wasn't aware this was a formal meeting, Princess Tsunade. Drop it. Again, I fail to see how I can help Naruto there. Besides, Sarutobi sensei would never let Danzo get his hands on the boy. Don't be so sure. Your sensei is a good man, but being pulled out of retirement so suddenly has clearly impacted him. He has been ceding more and more powers to others. The elders are growing in power, as are the civilians, and they in turn are putting pressure on the clans. I'll do my best, but I'm not sure how much longer I can protect Lord Naruto. Again, how exactly does my staying help? Isn't it obvious? I'd like to ask you to take up the Senju clan seat on the council. As a Sannin, last of one of the village's founding clans, and genuine princess, your word would go a long way. So you want me to not only stay in this god-forsaken village, but want me to actively get involved in politics? You ask too much. Good day, Lord Regent. Tsunade stood to leave, causing Shizune to stand as well, preparing to follow her. Will you at least return to the compound to say your farewells to Naruto before you leave the village? Yoshide's question caused her to pause, and turn to face him. Of course, he's a good brat, and even if I didn't want the role, he is my godson. At the same time that Yoshide and Tsunade were speaking across the field from the regent of the Uzumaki and the Senju princess, 2 young adults sat next to each other, watching the children play. They sat close to each other, closer than normal, with fingers interlaced as they held hands, with Kato Shizune's head resting against Uzumaki Kazumu's shoulders. Since being introduced to each other 7 weeks earlier, the two had instantly connected. Though to this point their relationship had gone no further than just the occasional display of affection, they'd never even been on a real date. And based on their conversation, it seemed like it might never progress to that point either. So you're really leaving then? It seems like it. I'm sorry, Kazumu. I really want to stay, but I must follow Lady Tsunade. She's not making you go, is she? It's nothing like that, but still, I have to go with her. I wish you could have stayed. I do too. The somber conversation was interrupted by the intrusion of an oblivious 5-year-old. San. Tenten, what is it? And as oblivious 5-year-old tend to do, Tenten asked a questions that prompted great embarrassment. Is this lady going to be my Ka-san? Shizune's face turned beet red, and Kazumu quickly put an end to this line of questioning. That's not the nicest thing to ask me in front of her, Tenten. Why? I'll tell you later. Go play with Lord Naruto and Karen for now. Okay. Reminded that her friends were waiting, Tenten quickly forgot about Shizune and gave her father a quick hug before returning to play with her companions. Kazumu quickly turned his attention back to the embarrassed young woman sitting next to him. Sorry about that. It's okay. She likes you, you know. After she met you yesterday, she didn't stop talking about how cool you are for at least an hour. She's a good kid, and she's lucky to have you. Out of the corner of her eye, Shizune noticed a clearly frustrated Tsunade stand and prepared to leave the Uzumaki clan lands, so she quickly got up to follow her master. Her standing prompted Kazumu to stand as well, their fingers still interlaced with each other as neither were fully willing to break apart. Shizune, please, consider staying. Kazumu, I want to, really I do. I missed Konoha, I missed my friends, and I'm really glad to have met you. I'll try to convince Lady Tsunade to stay, but I don't think it'll do anything. I expect we'll be leaving in 3 days or so. Thank you for everything. Surprising the young Uzumaki, Shizune stood up on her toes to be able to reach Kazumu's face, planting a quick kiss on his cheek, before reluctantly breaking away from him and hurrying to catch up with her master. Out of the corner of her eye, Tsunade witnessed Shizune's display of affection, and recalled Yoshide's words about her young apprentice. It was true that if Tsunade left, Shizune would follow. As much as Tsunade might have said that her apprentice was free to remain in Konoha, she knew there was no way that would happen. But was that really what was best for the girl? Pushing those thoughts from her head, Tsunade passed through the gates of the Uzumaki compound, offering no acknowledgement to the guards on duty and making a beeline for the nearest tavern. She needed a drink. Yoshide remained seated, watching the children play. Only after Tsunade had passed out of his sight did he turn his head to a nearby tree and speak. You can come out now. The person in the tree moved faster than a normal eye could track, and within a matter of seconds was seated next to the Uzumaki Regent. You know, Yoshide said with a smile on his face, We've been expecting you to visit the Uzumaki compound for more than 3 years now, Hatake Kakashi. Well, I guess I got lost on the road of life, came the response from the teenage Jonin. How much of my conversation with Lady Tsunade did you hear? The whole thing. Well then, you're hailed as a genius. Surely you've realized that the things I said about Tsunade and the Senju clan could apply to you and the Hatake clan as well. Lord Uzumaki, I don't really know anything about my clan. My father was in exile, and I was raised apart from it. Besides, Lady Tsunade may be the last Senju, but I'm not the last Hatake. There's still 15 or so members of the clan left. True, but the vast majority of those 15 members of your clan are 70 or so years old. They're retired elders. They're not capable of running or reviving a clan right now. They've earned their right to enjoy what years they have left in peace. If anyone is going to be able to reverse the fortunes of the Hatake clan, it would be you. I'm told they've been trying to get you to agree to at least live on clan property. The young Jonin looked pensive, or at least as much as one can with a mask over their mouth and a headband covering one of their eyes. After several moments of silence, Kakashi finally responded in a soft, almost subdued voice. I don't think that's the best idea. Everyone I get close to ends up dead. You ask me to save the Hatake, yet if I took over it would only hasten the clan's demise. I expected to have to emotionally manipulate Tsunade. She acts like a petulant child the way that she insists on dwelling upon the past. I expected better from you. You may still be a child, but I thought there was a certain level of maturity and pragmatism about you. So you're saying you're going to try to guilt-trip me like you did with Lady Tsunade, Lord Uzumaki? Rather than answering Kakashi's question, Yoshi just dove right in. Minato and Lady Kushina thought of you as a son. You know that, right? Silence. I'll take that as a yes. With Kakashi seemingly unwilling to speak, Yoshide rolled up a sleeve, revealing a kanji written on his arm. From that kanji he unsealed a scroll. He unraveled the scroll, passing Funjutsu matrices indicating that an item was sealed there, searching for one particular item. As he did, he continued making his point. They hoped Naruto-sama would view you as a big brother, and that you would view him as a little brother. There's still plenty of time for you to have that relationship if you want. But more than anything, Lord Naruto needs allies. If you took the Hatake's seat on the council, you could do a great deal to help him. Kakashi had no comeback. He very much wanted a relationship with his sensei's son, and had often volunteered for Anbu missions watching over the Uzumaki lands. Still, even as he acknowledged that everything Yoshide had just said was true, he couldn't envision himself as a clan head. Finally, Yoshide reached the spot on the scroll he was looking for, and released the seal, revealing 3 sealed envelopes. After which, he turned towards Kakashi, offering one of the envelopes to him. On that fateful day, Lady Kushina had a feeling that something would go wrong, and so she wrote 4 letters in case something happened to her. One was to Minato, another to Lord Naruto, one was to me, and the last one was to you. The reason I invited to you to come by the compound, an invitation that I'll remind I made more than 3 years ago and which you are just now acting upon, was not to try to convince you to take over as the head of the Hatake clan, it was to deliver your letter. Kakashi took the offered envelope, and just stared at it, as if unsure of what to do. Go ahead, open it and read it. Despite his temporary affiliation with Root, and the exercises Danzo had put him through to suppress his emotions, it was clear that as Kakashi read his pseudo-mother's final words to him he was on the brink of tears. When Kakashi finally finished reading and looked up from the letter, he found Yoshide offering him a second envelope. I haven't had the heart to read Lady Kushina's message to her husband. Perhaps it would be best if you took it, you knew the man better than I did after all. I'm sorry, but I can't accept it either. Perhaps one day Naruto will take it. As Kakashi spoke, he also stood and offered a formal bow to the Uzumaki Regent. Thank you for the letter, Lord Uzumaki, and for your words. You've given me a lot to think about, but I must be going. Oh, so soon? You don't even want to introduce yourself to your sensei's son? I do want to meet him, but I'm not ready yet, emotionally. I understand. Thank you for coming, Kakashi. Next time someone invites you to visit them, please don't keep them waiting for 3 years. Dad, Uncle Yoshide, Yoshide-sama. As Yoshide watched Kakashi leave, 3 young voices calling out to him. Turning around, he saw the 3 children running towards him. Turning back towards where Kakashi was, he saw that the teen had already disappeared. When the children arrived, Naruto was the first to speak. Hey, Uncle Yoshide, who was that guy? Someone that I hope you'll be able to meet soon. Now come on Naruto-sama, Karen, the sun is starting to set, let's head home. Tenten, go see your father. As the sun set, the 5 Uzumaki that were left in the field began making their way back towards the cluster of buildings that made up the core of their clan's lands. While the children were satisfied after a fun afternoon with friends, Yoshide and Kazumu's minds were both wandering, each wondering if they had been persuasive enough in their conversations. Ultimately, upon getting back to their homes, it was hugs from their daughters that pulled the two back to the present. Only time would tell if they had been successful, but even if they had failed, they'd manage somehow. They were Uzumaki, and despite everyone and everything, they were still here. 9 years later, Hokage Tower Complex Conference Room B. Uzumaki Yoshide took his assigned seat in Conference Room B. Unlike the normal meeting rooms, which gave the clan heads very prominent seating and was designed for discussion and debate, this room was designed to look more like a lecture hall and was often used by the Jonin commander to brief their subordinates about various things. On this day though, the room was crowded with a veritable who's who of Konoha. In addition to the elders and the clan heads, various wealthy businessmen, the heads of prominent non-clan shinobi families, and even representatives of the daimyo were in attendance, along with a number of jonin. Seated on either side of Yoshide were other clan heads, and he made casual small talk with them until Hiruzen Sarutobi walked up to the podium, flanked on either side by Shikaku Nara in his capacity as jonin commander, and Choza Akimichi in his capacity as head of the village's Department of Education and Shinobi Training. The arrival of the trio on the podium essentially silenced the rest of the room. "Good morning everyone, and thank you for being here for the annual Academy graduation briefing," began the Hokage. "We have a talented crop of Academy students who are eligible for the graduation exam this year, and at this meeting we'll go over some information about the class as a whole and discussion possible candidates to serve as Jonin Sensei. I know we have some new faces in this meeting, so I've asked our head of education and training, Akimichi Choza, to give you a high-level overview of this graduating class time in the Academy." His introduction complete, the Hokage stepped aside, allowing the head of the Akimichi clan to take over. "Thank you, Lord Hokage. In total 150 Academy students are eligible to take the graduation exam this year. Broadly, we can divide these students into two categories." As Choza went on, Yoshide could only smile. It always surprised him how the heads of the Akimichi, Nara, and Yamanaka clans could be blackout drunk one night, and then up in the peak of professionalism the next morning. The actual information presented was nothing new to Yoshide. 50 of those who were eligible to take the graduation had actually passed the exam in previous years, but had failed the true exam and had chosen to return to the academy to try again. If they passed the true exam this time, they'd finally become genin. It was the group of 100 students who would be attempting to graduate for the first time that Yoshide was much more interested in, and he paid close attention when Choza began discussing them. 6 years prior, when this graduating class had entered the academy, they had been divided into 4 classes based on skill level and ability. In the bottom class, no students were expected to pass the academy graduation exam, and in the 6 years prior only 3 of those students had even been able to unlock their chakra. This wasn't uncommon. A lot of civilians sent their kids to the Shinobi Academy, but kids from a purely civilian background rarely had enough chakra reserves to amount to anything. There is a reason that shinobi tended to marry other shinobi. Genetics played a big role in chakra. Overall, Choza estimated that about 66 students would pass the academy graduation exam, and that of those 66 about 33 would pass the true exam and become genin. Those that passed the first exam but failed the second would be given the opportunity to return to the academy and try again the next year. Each student had 3 total attempts to pass the true exam. If they couldn't pass in 3 attempts, they'd be offered a spot in the village reserves. There, they'd live and work as a civilian in day-to-day life, but would continue to train their shinobi skills, and could be called up to serve during emergencies in times of war. In the top class, which was almost entirely composed of students from clan backgrounds, with the exception of 1 civilian, each of the 24 students was expected to pass both exams, with the remaining 9 expected to pass a Jonin instructor's exam coming from the second highest class, and all coming from shinobi backgrounds. With his overview out of the way, Choza dived into brief profiles of the top 10 students overall, and it was here that Yoshide paid very close attention. After all, both his daughter and his future clan head were among the expected graduates. Of course, we won't be ranking these students yet. I won't have those details until after their exam next week. Choza was saying, but overall our anticipated top 10 this year is one of the strongest batches of students in many years. The heirs of several clans are among the expected top 10, including Aburame Shino, Akimichi Choji, Nara Shikamaru, Uzumaki Naruto, and Yamanaka Ino. Those who knew how to get rid of shinobi's metaphorical poker face were easily able to tell how pleased the heads of those clans were that their sons, daughter, and nephew, all placed so highly. In addition, various other relatives of current clan heads are in the top 10. Hyuga Hinata is one of Lord Hyuga's daughters. Inazuka Kiba is Lady Inazuka's second child, Uchiha Sasuke is Lady Uchiha's youngest, and Uzumaki Karen is the daughter of the Lord Regent of the Uzumaki clan. Finally, for the first time since the Yondaime, a child from a purely civilian background is expected to graduate in the top 10, Haruno Sakura. There was a lot to unpack there. Yoshide was naturally proud of his daughter's work, but it was expected, and there were fewer ramifications from it than the announcement of Sasuke and Sakura both having a projected top 10 status. Indeed, the announcement Sakura's performance had sent a flurry of whispers throughout the meeting room. The Haruno Merchant Guild were well known for not just their wealth and influence, but for their desire to establish market control not just in the capital, where their headquarters was located, but in Konoha. They'd been trying to negotiate contracts and alliances with shinobi clans for years. There was even a rumor circulating among the clan heads that Sakura's enrollment in the Shinobi Academy had not been her own choice. Rather, the guild entered her with the sole purpose of having her catch the eye of some young clan heir so that they could marry her off and create an alliance with a clan. I can't say for certain if that is the reason she was enrolled in the academy or not, but the representatives of the Haruno Merchant Guild have certainly expressed an enthusiasm for offering her hand in marriage to Lord Naruto. Yoshide thought, reflecting on those rumors. Then there is the case of the Uchiha. Several years prior, during Naruto and Ko's second year at the academy, word had reached the village higher-ups that the discontent among assorted members of the Uchiha clan had grown past the metaphorical boiling point, and that a small faction was seeking support from their clan members for a coup. A very discreet investigation had revealed the number of Uchiha on board with the plan was small, only 30 or so members. But that the group included several high-ranking members, including the clan head, Uchiha Fugaku. The clan's heir, Uchiha Itachi, was the one who had reported the coup, and noted that another faction, led by his mother, Uchiha Makoto, was actively opposed to the idea. Various high-ranking officials in the village with their own agendas took advantage of the situation, and the end result was that a small group of Uchiha ended up very publicly executing the group planning the coup, with Makoto personally executing her husband. Itachi was also involved. While this prevented the coup from taking place, it led to a division within the Uchiha clan. A majority supported Makoto and Itachi, but there was a smaller but very present faction that felt that the two had too much blood on their hands to lead the clan. This faction wanted to Sasuke replace his elder brother as the heir, and to exile both Makoto and Itachi from the clan. The clan's internal politics were said to be incredibly tense, and Sasuke placing among the top 10 graduates, while expected, likely wouldn't help the situation. Yoshide was pulled from his musings by Choza handing the meeting back over to the Hokage, who then opened the floor for suggestions on possible Jonin sensei. A number of names were put forward for consideration, each usually eliciting a few arguments for and against by various meeting attendees. But it was one attendee who caused the most obvious reactions after speaking just 3 words: "I nominate myself." "Of course you do, Kakashi-kun," the elderly Hokage responded. A small number of attendees, Hokage and Uzumaki Regent, both included sported knowing smiles, having anticipated this outcome. For others, Kakashi's actions required an explanation. "Lord Hatake, you have generally shown yourself to be averse to teaching in the past, why the sudden interest now?" "Well, for one, I do have a very young son at home, and I'd actually like to be around as Obito grows up. Then there's the fact that Anko is 3 months pregnant with our second child, so I'd really rather stay close to the village." Kakashi's explanation was interrupted by a round of congratulatory remarks, Yoshide's own well wishes among them. The Uzumaki Regent had been unaware that the Lord and Lady of the Hatake were expecting a second child. "Then there's the fact that I believe that I am perhaps the perfect candidate to teach Lady Uchiha's youngest." "How so, Lord Hatake?" Kakashi turned to face the aristocrat that the daimyo had dispatched from the capital, speaking to the man's face as he responded. "I won't get into too much detail, but suffice to say that it would be best if young Sasuke's sensei was capable of teaching him about the Sharingan. That narrows down the candidates for his sensei to the various Uchiha Jonin and myself. Given the division within their clan, any Uchiha assigned by the village to teach Sasuke could be interpreted as the village picking a side in the clan's internal affairs, leaving me the only possible candidate who is both neutral in said affairs and capable of providing instruction on the Sharingan." A nod from Makoto confirmed the point, and Kakashi turned back to address the meeting as a whole. "And finally, I'm interested in my sensei's legacy." The majority of those in the room who know the identity of both of Naruto's parents understood exactly what Kakashi meant, and either smiled or scowled depending on how their knowledge of the current host of the 9 Tails and thoughts on Jinchuriki in general. But either way, this group was small. For the majority, who only knew the identity of Naruto's mother, there was confusion about just what legacy of the Yondaime Kakashi was referring to. His smile only haven gotten wider the more Kakashi spoke. Hiruzen was practically grinning from ear to ear when he silenced any further discussion of Kakashi's candidacy, moving the discussion on to other names. At the end of the long yet satisfying meeting, after saying his farewells to various other clan heads and dignitaries, Uzumaki Yoshide found himself passing by the Jonin Lounge. ready room just at the same time that Uzumaki Kazuma was signing out from a shift as a stand-by Jonin. The two Uzushio-born shinobi then found themselves passing by the C&D ranked mission assignment desk just as Konoha Genin Team 9, under the leadership of Jonin Sensei Might Guy, were collecting their paychecks, having just completed their final D rank of the day. This happy coincidence allowed Uzumaki Tenten, the former clan-less orphan, to sneak a hug from her adopted father when she thought her teammates weren't looking. After a few more moments to say her farewells to her teammates, Tenten joined her father and her clan regent in walking out of the Hokage Tower administrative complex, and onto the streets of Konoha. The Uzumaki clan compound was on the outskirts of the village, a long ways away from the tower. Apparently in the years prior to the Uzumaki officially resettling in Konoha, there was a faction of village officials that were trying to convince the Uchiha to give up their centrally located complex and take that plot of land, much to the disdain of the Sharingan wielders. As such, the petition for a plot of land for the Uzumaki clan had been welcomed and supported by the Uchiha, who were able to maintain their preferred compound location. It meant that the Uzumaki were on the outskirts, but it also meant that the land came cheap, as the Uchiha had subsidized a portion of the costs to incentive the new clan to take the land. Given their desire to hide away Naruto in his early years of life, the location had worked out quite well for the Uzumaki. One of the results of the Uzumaki compound's location was that the most convenient route between the Hokage Tower and the compound ran right past the village Shinobi Academy. Based on the time of day, near the time that the academy released, Yoshide, Kazuma, and Tenten were expecting that portion of their route home to be quite crowded. And indeed it was, though that was not wholly unpleasant. A crowd of red-headed Uzumaki Academy students were swarmed around the few adult clan members who had come to meet them. Included among them was one of the few non-redheads to be counted among the clan's membership. Uzumaki Shizune, wife of Kazuma and mother of Tenten. She seemed to be struggling, attempting to corral the youngest Uzumaki Academy students while also dealing with a clearly upset toddler, Tenten's youngest sibling, whom she held in her arms. Some of the older Uzumaki Academy students, such as the three Uzumaki in their final year of academy study, Uzumaki Daisuke, Yoshide's daughter Karen, and of course Naruto, were trying to assist her, but apprentice of Tsunade or not corralling that many children was not an easy task for one person. Particularly considering children currently outnumbered adults in the Uzumaki clan. Yoshide, Kazuma, and Tenten couldn't have arrived at a better time. Tenten immediately shifted into big sister mode, taking her youngest sibling from her mother's arms and corralling her middle two siblings. She may have been the only one of the four to not be Kazuma and Shizune's biological child, but all her two brothers and her sister all looked up to her and would follow her anywhere. No longer having to worry about her youngest, and now assisted by her husband and Yoshide in addition to the final year academy students, Shizune was able to quickly take charge of the situation, corralling all the 25 or so Uzumaki clan members currently enrolled in the academy and marching them off toward the Uzumaki compound. For Yoshide and Kazuma, the sight brought back memories of the state of the clan a decade earlier. Less than 30 adults, 5 children, and one on the way. The future had looked bleak. Between the adoptions and the baby boom, things had completely changed. As he had predicted, the great seal master Takahiro had been busy performing the adoption ritual over the years. His task was to ensure that those who were adopted into the clan and were young enough to survive said ritual, or born half Uzumaki as the result of a clan member marrying an outsider, were transformed into full-blooded Uzumaki clan members. Because of this, there were almost as many full-blooded Uzumaki children currently enrolled in the academy than there had been adults in that meeting all those years prior. And that was just the children that were old enough to attend the academy, which under peacetime regulations wasn't possible until a child was either 7 years of age, or would hit that milestone during their first 8 months of attendance. What a difference a decade could make. If such a big change had happened in this decade, Yoshide and Kazuma couldn't help but wonder what the next decade would hold for the children of the Whirlpools. Konoha Shinobi Academy, classroom of the final year advanced class, Uchiha Sasuke. With a confident smirk, the younger son of Lady Makoto Uchiha strode down from his seat towards the instructor who had called his name. The 4 classes of final year students were taking their graduation exams. In the advanced class, the written exam, projectiles exam, and taijutsu exam were all completed. The ninjutsu exam was in progress, with only a few students left to go. Next will be Daisuke, thought Naruto as he glanced at the red-headed boy on his left. Like Tenten, Daisuke had been an orphan that had been adopted by an Uzumaki and who had successfully undergone the clan's adoption ritual. Though whereas Tenten was a year older than Karen and Naruto, Daisuke was the same age. Then Karen. The only Uzumaki in the room to have actually been a full-blooded Uzumaki at birth, and for all intents and purposes Naruto's sister. After his parents' death, Naruto had not been formally adopted by any clan member, but had been raised by Regent Yoshide and his wife, making Karen and her 2 younger brothers essentially Naruto's siblings. Then me, and then last but not least will be Ino-chan. The door opened, and Sasuke strolled back into the room, a Konoha headband around his head. Mizuki, the class assistant instructor, appeared at the door, clipboard in hand, and bellowed out, "Uzumaki Daisuke." As Daisuke stood, Naruto extended a fist, prompting the boy to bump his own fist with Naruto's. "You've got this, Daisuke." "I'll do my best, my lord." As Karen approached and offered her own motivation to her clansmen, a voice from the row below them spoke up. "You better pass, Daisuke, wouldn't want to disappoint Lord Uzumaki-sama." "Really, Ino? What a drag. I thought taunting the Uzumaki for stuff like that stopped being funny when we were 10. Munch munch. I don't think she's trying to get a rise out of Daisuke Shika. She knows the whole, oh, the Uzumaki never actually referred to Naruto casually thing stopped being funny a few years ago. Munch. I think she's working that Naruto doesn't like being addressed formally and freaks out when anyone other than his own clan does it because he surrendered to the fact that the Uzumaki will refer to him as such whether he likes it or not, and that's funny." Angle. In the row below where the 3 Uzumaki had chosen to sit sat another notable trio. Akamichi Choji, Nara Shikamaru, and Yamanaka Ino, heir of the Akamichi clan, heir of the Nara clan, and heiress of the Yamanaka clan respectively, and the next generation of the famed Ino Shika Cho trio. Raised as siblings in all but blood, they regularly bickered with each other, Ino and Shikamaru especially, but it was obvious to all that those arguments came from a deep bond of love that the 3 had, just as it had been with their fathers. Outside of his fellow Uzumaki, the Ino Shika Cho were Naruto's closest friends. One of Naruto's first excursions outside of the Uzumaki clan compound had been to attend Shikamaru's birthday party. It was common practice for clan heads, heirs, and their immediate family to be invited to the birthday parties of young clan heirs. It was there that Naruto had met the trio. "Ino was definitely going after me," Naruto said, acknowledging Choji's earlier statement. "You wish I'd give you the time of day, Naruto." Ino scoffed in mock protest. Their gazes met, and for the briefest of moments a dusting of red lit up the faces of both Naruto and Ino, with Naruto's blush almost matching the trademark shade of Uzumaki red that his hair was. Yes, Naruto and Ino liked each other, and every adult who had seen the 2 interact had instantly known it. They'd been like this since they first met, but sadly it wasn't to be. One's destiny was to lead the Uzumaki and the other was destined to lead the Yamanaka. A union between them would have been impossible. Yoshide had expressed as such to Naruto as soon as the 12-year-old started to actually show signs of hitting puberty. Again the door opened, revealing that Daisuke now sported a Konoha headband around his red locks. "Uzumaki Karen," called Mizuki. Karen left to the well wishes of her friends, and Daisuke returned to the hearty congratulations of his. After thanking the Ino Shika Cho, Naruto, and taking his seat, Daisuke was congratulated by the final member of Naruto's immediate group of friends. Turning his head around to view the solitary figure sitting in the row above them, Shino Aburame. Shino was a bit odd. Usually quiet to the point that it was easy to forget that he was even present, but he had been a loyal friend to the Uzumaki and the Ino Shika Cho for several years at this point, having made friends with them after his father encouraged him to be more social. So on this, the most stressful day of Naruto's life so far, he was surrounded by friends. Only Tenten was missing. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto was pulled from his thoughts to see that Karen was almost halfway back to her seat, and sporting a Konoha headband. So far everyone in their group had passed. He stood, accepted the positive vibes from his friends, congratulated Karen, and walked through the door. On the other side he was faced with a panel of 3. The headmaster of the Shinobi Academy sat on the left, Iruka Amino, the class primary instructor, sat in the center. On the right, the aforementioned Mizuki. Naruto easily performed the substitution jutsu, as well as the henge jutsu, where he changed into the shape of his uncle, Yoshide. When prompted for a clone technique, Naruto called on his Uzumaki heritage to make a water clone, prompting the headmaster to mutter that it was the same technique that Karen and Daisuke used. Quote, "Well, they might be more well known for Fuinjutsu and Kenjutsu, but let's not forget that the Uzumaki are well known for their water element as well, much like the Sarutobi and Uchiha are for fire style." Iruka responded, before turning to the red-headed Uzumaki clan heir. "Congratulations Naruto, you've passed," he said, handing Naruto his headband. After accepting the congratulations of the 3 judges, Naruto waited for Mizuki to open the door before walking through it as the instructor called out, and last but not least as Yamanaka Ino. Naruto and Ino met in the middle of the stairs, and even though the entire classroom's eyes were on them, it was like no one else was there. "Congratulations, Naruto." "Thanks, Ino. I know you'll do great too." I'd say we should celebrate by going on a date tonight, but the other day Daddy explained to me why that wasn't possible. Wait. You like me, Ino? Yeah, I like you too. But you're right. Uncle Yoshi'd already walked me through why we can't be together. We're friends though, right? Ino looked at Naruto with a set of puppy dog eyes that no male figure in Ino's life, be it her father, her quasi-brothers, or Naruto, had ever been able to say no to. Of course we are, he smiled, hugging her as he spoke. We're great friends, Ino. Now go on, show Iruka-sensei what a kick-ass kunoichi you are. -1 week later, back in the same classroom, Naruto was surrounded by familiar faces, flanked by Daisuke and Karen, with the Ino Shika Cho trio in front of him and Shino behind. The septet chatted amicably as they waited for Iruka to enter the room and announce the newly formed genin teams. The fact that this was likely the last day they would be gathered together like this was not lost on them, or at least some of them. An era was ending, they were going to be shinobi of Konoha, adults in the eyes of the leaf. Able to drink, marry, and yes, kill. As Choza had predicted several weeks prior, every member of the top class had graduated and received a headband, so the room was just as crowded and lively as normal when Iruka entered, giving the class a fond farewell and some sage words, before jumping into the team assignments. If Naruto were to be honest with himself, he could barely contain his excitement. However, Yoshide had given him a talk of sorts the day after he passed the graduation exam. Naruto was going to be a genin now. No longer a child, combine that with his role as the future head and greatest hope of his clan, and there were going to be lots of eyes on him. So Naruto did his best to stay calm as he waited to hear his name, though more observant members of the class may have noticed that he was unable to stop twiddling his thumbs. Team 7, Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto's first reaction was to frown. He was not particularly close with either member of his squad, and would have preferred to be with friends. Still, trying to keep his composure and act as a clan heir, Naruto offered a small smile and a nod of his head to both of his new teammates. Team 8, Aburame Shino, Inazuka Kiba, Uzumaki Karen. Naruto grinned, at least some of his friends would be on the same team. Karen offered a smile and a fist bump to Shino, who surprisingly raised his fist to meet hers, before both of them mimicked Naruto's actions. A smile and a nod of acknowledgement to Kiba. Team 9 is still in use, consisting of Hyuga Neji, Rock Lee, and Uzumaki Tenten under the leadership of Might Guy. They are 1 year older than you. Team 10 will be Akimichi Choji, Nara Shikamaru, and Yamanaka Ino. The trio showed no reaction. This was expected. Their fathers had been teammates, their grandparents had been teammates, all the way back to the founding of the village. Even before the three clans had joined the nascent Leaf Village, they had specialized in working together with each other. Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji would actually be the 16th consecutive heads of the three clans to actively form a team together. A legendary tradition in the shinobi world. Perhaps the trio would have reacted if they weren't paired together, but breaking up the formation would likely have caused a major political crisis in the village. This team was all but preordained. Our last team is Team 11. Hyuga Hinata, Sai, Uzumaki Daisuke. A sympathetic look was exchanged between Naruto and his clansmen. It seemed neither of them would have friends on their team. When Daisuke went to offer a smile and nod to his new teammates himself, Naruto took a moment to reflect on the placements. Interesting, based on these teams I'd say there is almost a formula to how they assemble them, Naruto thought. Top graduate, Shino, last graduate, Kiba. Ino is the top kunoichi, but she's a special case because of her clan tradition, so the top girl available is Karen. Sai, Hinata, and Daisuke are all in the middle of our class rankings. Sasuke and I tied for second behind Shino, and while Sakura was top girl on the written exam, she did poorly enough on everything else to be second lowest overall. Only her book smarts let her beat Kiba. And based on what I know of last year, Tenten was top girl, so I'm willing to guess she was placed with the top boy and the overall lowest as well. When the class had finally calmed down from the adrenaline rush of team assignments, Iruka made the point of requiring the new teams to sit together. So after a few minutes of reshuffling, Naruto found himself sitting in the aisle seat of a new row, with Sakura next to him and Sasuke leaning against the window. Iruka then gave the teams a few minutes to acclimate, before dismissing the new teams for lunch, but not without a strong suggestion that the new teams eat together. What happened next was entirely predictable to anyone who understood both how obsessive and stubborn Uzumaki could be. Each of the three Uzumaki ended up suggesting that their team go to lunch at Ichiraku Ramen, and would not take no for an answer. In the early days of the ramen stand this would have posed a problem, there weren't that many seats in the establishment. However, the arrival of the Uzumaki clan had proved a boon to Tuchi and his daughter Ayame, as their business grew exponentially with the arrival of the clan whose obsession for ramen seemed to be genetic. The small stand located in the heart of Konoha had expanded to a 25-table restaurant. On top of that, a 15-table restaurant was opened just a 5-minute walk from the Uzumaki clan compound, and 2 small stands closer to the original size of the business had opened elsewhere in the village. Even with 2 restaurants, there was enough demand for ramen from the Uzumaki clan alone that other customers had found it difficult to get served, necessitating the additional stands. Almost overnight, Tuchi Ichiraku had become the second wealthiest restaurateur in the city, after only the Akamichi clan. At a table near the back of the restaurant in the center of the village, Naruto and his teammates sat down to their first meal as Team 7. Naruto, to his credit, actually slowed down from his normal blazing fast ramen consumption speed in an attempt to make casual conversation. Results were mixed. The conversation had taken an awkward turn almost as soon as Sakura spoke up. "Uchiha-sama, Uzumaki-sama, I'm looking forward to working with you. Even though I don't come from a clan, or even a shinobi heritage, I'll do my best not to be a burden." Sasuke didn't seem to have a problem with this statement, but the same couldn't be said for Naruto. "Sakura, we've been over this in the academy, but now we're teammates as well. I am uncomfortable with people from outside of my clan referring to me like that, please just call me Naruto. But now that you're a genin, your status as the heir of your clan is solidified, I wouldn't want to disrespect your clan. Sakura, please, I'd like to be called Naruto." "Very well, Naruto-sama. Sigh, well, it's some progress I suppose." Naruto thought, dropping the subject and digging into his meal once more. What followed was an awkward silence. While Sasuke had been willing to answer and respond to Naruto and Sakura, he wasn't going to be initiating conversations. Naruto poured himself into his meal because he preferred the silence to being addressed so formally by a teammate, and Sakura was still a bit confused by Naruto's stance. It conflicted everything her guild had told her about the clans, and she was worried she had made a bad first impression. Mercifully, it was soon time for the team to head back to the academy to await the arrival of the Jonin and find out who their sensei would be. The wait for the Jonin was on, and the classroom slowly emptied as teams were picked up by their new commanding officers and teachers. Among the 4 teams Naruto and his group of friends were on, the first Jonin to arrive was one Sarutobi Asuma, son of the 3rd Hokage, who arrived to pick up the new Ino Shika Cho. Not surprising, Naruto thought, not just 3 future clan heads, but the next iteration of a legendary team. Of course, Lord Hokage gave this team his own son as a sensei. As Asuma announced what team he was there to pick up, a red-eyed woman entered the room. Introducing herself as Yuhi Kurenai, she announced that she was there for Team 8, which put a slight frown on Naruto's face. "I've never heard of this woman, and the Yuhi aren't a clan to my knowledge. Shino is a clan heir, Karen is the daughter of a current clan head, and Kiba is the son of one. Something isn't right here." Having noticed his frown, Shino answered Naruto's unspoken question. "The Yuhi are the Sarutobi clan's most trusted vassals, having served Clan Sarutobi faithfully for several centuries. I am sure that Lord Hokage is familiar with her skills and am confident in Kurenai sensei's competence." As Asuma and his team departed, and Shino, Karen, and Kiba made their way down from their seats to follow their new sensei, a 3rd Jonin entered the room. "Listen up kids, my name is Shiranui Genma, and I'm here for Team 11. Daisuke gets to learn from one of the Yondaimi's personal bodyguards. That's so cool." Naruto was beginning to get impatient at this point, but was still more than capable of admiring a member of the famed Hokage guard platoon when he saw one. Thankfully, Naruto's wait would be over soon. Looking around the room after Genma and his team left, Naruto saw only 2 other teams besides his own still waiting. At that point, the door opened once more, and another Jonin walked into the room. Sakura recognized the Jonin in question, and exclaimed in shock, "Hataki-sama. What are you doing here, sir?" "Ma. Well, I'm here for Team 7. I'd like them to meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. Kakashi then disappeared into a poof of smoke. Naruto could hardly contain his smile, and looking at his teammates he saw a similar expression on Sasuke's face. Hatake Kakashi was not just the head of the Hatake clan. He was a student of the 4th Hokage and arguably the most powerful shinobi of his generation from any village. The opportunity to learn from such a well-known figure was certainly enticing. So without too much though, the 3 members of Team 7 ran out of the room, making a beeline for the stairs to the roof. "Well, alright then, why don't we go around the group and introduce ourselves? What would you like us to say, Hataki-sama? Sakura, was it? Do not refer to me like that, Kakashi-sensei is just fine." Seeing an opportunity, Naruto jumped into the conversation with a follow-up question. "Hey, sensei, we should all be fairly informal, right?" Kakashi turned from Sakura to Naruto, and answered the question. "I think so, we'll be working very closely together. There will be weeks and even months where you spend more time with us than you do with your own families." Naruto then turned to Sakura. You heard sensei, Sakura, drop the sama, and Lord crap. Not just for sensei, but for Sasuke and I as well. Kakashi then turned to Sakura. You refer to them as Naruto-sama and Sasuke-sama? Not just them, sensei. My guild taught me that I should show the proper reverence to all the shinobi clans. Yeah, that's not going to work for us. From now on it's Kakashi-sensei, Naruto, and Sasuke. That's an order. As Sakura came to grips with the new way she'd have to speak to her teammates, the introductions began. Hatake Kakashi liked his dogs, his wife and son, fine literature, and paying tribute to his fallen comrades at the memorial stone. His goals included being a better father to his children than his father was to him and getting a certain colleague to admit defeat in various competitions. Though it should be noted that Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke were all then hit by an incredible wave of killing intent as Kakashi went into great detail about what he would do to them if that second goal should be leaked. Naturally, the three genin quickly agreed that even though they didn't know what Kakashi was talking about, they would act as if those challenges annoyed and or bored their sensei. Sakura was the next to go. My name is Haruno Sakura. I like my friends and learning new things. I dislike ninja who look down on me because of my civilian background. There was then a small pause as Sakura let out a sigh and her determination seemed to waver. Finally, she regained her composure and finished her statement. And my goal is to help my guild achieve its goals however I can. Ma Sakura, based on the way you said that it seems like achieving your goal might come at a high price. I'd say that's probably true, sensei. But it's something I don't really want to discuss. While assuring Sakura that that was no problem, and prompting one of his other students to go next, the head of the Hatake clan made a mental bookmark on Sakura's introduction. Well, I can think of some clan heads who might like to hear about this little conversation. Naruto was the next to go. His likes were the Uzumaki clan and ramen. The sole dislike he mentioned was the time it took for ramen to cook, and his goal was stated as being the best possible head of the Uzumaki clan, and presiding over an era of growth and prosperity for his clan. Finally, Sasuke mentioned that his likes were tomatoes and training. His dislikes were distractions and fangirls, and his dreams of clearing the Uchiha name and settling the conflict in his clan were met with looks of confusion by both Naruto and Sakura. But again Kakashi moved the conversation along, not allowing it to linger on potentially sensitive subjects. This was just an introductory meeting after all. As the team worked together and got closer they'd feel more comfortable discussing personal matters, but this was neither the appropriate setting nor the occasion for such talks to take place. Team 7's first ever meeting was ended by Kakashi informing his 3 students to meet him at their designated training grounds the next morning at 7 a.m. sharp, and by strongly suggesting that his students not eat breakfast the next morning, implying they might end up vomiting all over the training field if they did. Immediately after that warning he disappeared via Shushin, leaving 3 very confused and concerned genin behind.